It's an email question from Joseph H., who has an angle that he didn't like. He says, can you tell us about how the Piggy James angle was thought up? Was this a cruel joke by Vince? As someone who has dealt with weight issues my entire life and have family and friends who have as well, I found the entire angle to be completely distasteful. Not only was it cruel, but it insults the intelligence of the fan base, since Mickie is obviously one of the most beautiful and talented women in the world, let alone WWE or pro wrestling. Thank you, and good luck on your music career and with TNA. I watch every week.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I think there's a lot of mixed emotions about that whole angle. And I don't know exactly where it came from. I know that Layla and Michelle were doing that whole Mean Girls kind of thing. And I can tell you that working with the girls, like, they would come to me and go, like, I'm not really comfortable saying this, or I'm not really comfortable doing, and I was like, no, if this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to say, let's do it. Let's freaking own it, and let's steal the show with it. And I feel like because bullying at that point in social and our culture, it had come to the forefront of, it was such a major issue in schools, in just society, that it was a way for the company or whatever to attack it kind of head on and to address it in both a comedy way, but also that overcoming of it. I don't know where it came from, and to me it never really mattered. Obviously, it's hard not to let your emotions, because I'm the type of person that's like, I have to feel every moment when I'm out there, so it's hard not to let them kind of get intertwined sometimes. Obviously, like, you're an actress and you're working and you're trying to do this thing, but sometimes it wasn't the easiest task to do, because it's like, I was not the most popular kid in school growing up. I was not. I played the violin. I was a nerd. I was very into my studies and my horses, and I had a handful of friends, in the small town that I grew up in. So I could very much relate to, although, it was more about weight issues and stuff like that, I could very much relate to the nitpicking and getting picked on aspect of it. So it kind of did hit close to home, but I think that Michelle and Layla own those moments, and had they not been so great at being so nasty, I wouldn't have been able to really hone in and own those moments and really take, go back in time and kind of own those moments, if that makes any sense. So it does, like, I can see how it did get a lot of mixed reactions, but I think it also raised a lot of awareness of how ugly bullying and that side of society is, and in all honesty, how it is more the bullies that are insecure and the sad cases than it is the people actually getting bullied. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's actually those people that are doing the bullying that need that social acceptance, that need to put down others to bring them to their level of how they feel about themselves, rather than, trying to raise people up. And so it really kind of addressed it head on, and it was kind of a twisted way to do it, but I think it worked.
Did you ever, behind the scenes, have any kind of overt or subtle pressure to look a certain way, or if you put on some weight or got too curvy, was there some code word that was used to let you know that it might be in your best interest to lose weight? Molly Holly talked about that when I interviewed her, probably right after she left WWF years ago, just about, that there was a certain standard that WWE expected women to have, and if you didn't fit that, those signals came to you in different ways. Did you ever feel that? And did you at all, even though you talked very well about the message that was being sent with how nasty the heels were in the storyline, did you ever feel that this was a personal jab at you in any way?
I would hope not, because that would be a very twisted and childish jab. You know what I mean? Like, I would hope that someone, especially being at that level, that I never took it that way, because in my mind I felt like it's a very upfront business about so many things. Like, people are quick to tell you exactly what they're thinking, so why wouldn't they just say it? You know what I mean? So I would hope not, because that would be very high school if it was. And if it was, then I was blind to it. obviously I feel like when you are on television, you know, it's your own psyche as well as like you want to be in the best shape possible. And obviously I recognize right now I was not in my best shape possible at that moment anyway. I was feeling a little fluffy. So but I also, in that last year, I was home 20 days out of that entire year because I was working on my first album. I was on the road 250 days. I was working on that first album. I was literally home in my own house 20 days probably out of that entire year. So I was already so it was a mixture of things: road weary, stress, emotional, just everything. There was many things that were kind of I was already kind of dealing with at that moment. So I wasn't probably my most confident that I'd ever been in my life at that point anyway, just because I had so much going on, and I'd really overdone myself. I'd kind of like, you know, I was burning the candle at both ends, the middle and and between those points too. So it was just, and if I feel like perhaps that maybe it did suffer, but it wasn't one of you acknowledge that stuff, like, and especially because you're standing next to, even right now, you know, even at TNA, you know, you're standing next to all these gorgeous women who are in amazing shape. And so it's a constant competition, like, well, we have to, you know, everybody has to, if you're going to, you know, you got to look slam and it's television, you know, 1 extra inch you feel like looks like 10, you know, so you're constantly, and we are our own worst critics because it's such a cosmetic business, you know.
And I think one of the criticisms of WWE and just pro wrestling in general is that they think every guy has the same type. And I hear it a lot when this type, especially during the Piggy James thing, you know, where guys are like, I'm sorry, I take Mickie James over, you know, Michelle McCool and her body shape any day of the week. And it seemed like WWE and the people in charge of those storylines, the writers, Vince McMahon, whoever, didn't seem to know that it probably was a turnoff to a portion of their audience, that they were almost being told what type of woman and what kind of body type should be the one that is worshipped. And granted, fortunately, in that storyline, the heels were nasty. And in the end, the message was not that it's okay to be that way, to make fun of somebody for not being as thin as Michelle McCool, who's about as thin as you get. So, but I think that
I don't know. I think Michelle has an amazing body. Like, she's tall,
right.
Got that athletic, like volleyball type of player. She looks like an athlete. You know,
yeah, but she's a thin athlete, and I think WWE made it seem like there's only one way to look and be an athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
When in reality, I mean, as we all do, come in all shapes, sizes, colors, everything else, you know, and that's what makes us beautiful, and it's kind of to own that. Like, I don't think that I was in awful shape by any means. I still think that I'm an athlete. Yeah. But I do recognize that I'm 5'2", and I have curves. Like, that's how God made me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's what I think people are worried about is what do the teenage girls watching this feel, and does that open up the floodgates for them to be made fun of at school because well,
and that's why I feel like that whole thing was to be kind of raise awareness on that side of it. So maybe because it was already such a big issue.
Yeah.
Bullying.
Yep.
It was already, and it was just being brought to light as far as in the news and in the media and all that stuff anyway. So it was kind of like perhaps they're the way to, in our industry, shed light upon that and go like, okay, this is not okay, and this is how ugly it comes off.
Yes.
You know. And I could be totally wrong, and maybe that's just me trying to see through rose-colored glasses, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I thought that, you know, I probably couldn't have been able to do that storyline had I not been able to do it with Michelle and Layla. Really owned that, and
they did.
The three of us working together and making that special was really what made that as powerful and as emotionally involved, like as it was for so many people, because people could actually relate to it. Because I mean, this is, you know, it's a reality. You know, It's a reality that everybody faces. Somebody, you know, nobody's perfect by any means. Nobody's perfect. So we've all got our little flaws and stuff that we kind of look at and go like, I wish I didn't have this dot in the middle of my forehead. I don't know why I picked my chickenpox scar.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the mirror right now. But then I'm like, I own it. It's like, that's my chickenpox scar. What are you going to do about it?